If you're looking to do the Mae Hong Son Loop, you've come to the right place because this is the complete guide to the Mae Hong Son Loop. Wow.
The Mae Hong Son Loop, a 600-kilometer scenic ride with over 1,864 to 4,000 curves, depending on the route you take. Situated up in the beautiful northern part of Thailand. This route is hands down one of the most scenic rides in Southeast Asia next to the Ha Giang Loop in Vietnam. By the way, if you haven't seen my Ha Giang Loop videos just yet, I'm gonna link them up above, so make sure you watch them after this video if you want to get an idea of how beautiful that loop is. It's worth watching, trust me. There are no right ways in doing the loop or which way you go, but I highly suggest doing the loop counterclockwise instead of doing it clockwise. I'll tell you the reason why a bit later in the video, but I've done this loop twice. Yup, 2 times, and both times I've done it counterclockwise. The reason actually makes sense, but stay tuned for that in the end. The loop can also be done anywhere between 3 to 7 days depending on how many stops or how fast you ride through the loop. The sweet spot in my opinion is 4 days. It's what I would recommend for you. That said, as far as itinerary goes, I'll focus on a 4-day itinerary. But if you want to do it less, like in 3 days, or maybe you want to take your time and do the loop in 5, or maybe you want to do it in 10, you may still watch the video as it will give you the proper information you need when you do the loop. I'll give you a quick breakdown of this video. First, I'll be talking about what you need to pack, what motorbike you'll need to rent, documents you need to have, and a rough estimate of the rental cost. The best time of the year to do the loop. I'll talk about the itineraries from day 1 through 4. In addition, I'll give you some worthy pit stops in these little towns you'll be visiting as well as along the way. And last but not the least, safety and making sure you complete the loop in one piece without a scratch. And that includes the bike. I'll also be giving some bonus tips at the end, so make sure you watch the entire video to catch that. But before we start, I'd appreciate it if you give this video a like, as well as consider subscribing to my channel. If you're new here, my name is RJ and I travel the world. I document my adventures and share tips along the way, things I learned from my experience to ensure other travelers like yourself get the best out of your trip. Okay, enough with the intro. Let's get right into this guide. First, let's talk about what you need to pack. If you packed heavy, you're probably gonna have to leave most of your things either at the hotel or hostel or Airbnb you stayed at. Most of them would store it for you and you could just collect it when you get back. Just ensure there's no valuables in there, and if you have a lock for your bag, even better. But many riders doing the Mae Hong Son Loop typically leave their items in their Chiang Mai accommodation. If you just have a day pack or a smaller bag, you may be able to get away with it, but having this weight on your back during these long rides can be very uncomfortable, so I suggest tying it up at the back of your scooter, or if it's small enough, you could stuff it in between your legs, but even that could get uncomfortable once you get to day 3 or 4 of the loop because of your foot placement. Now here's what you need to pack. Remember, you're only gone for 4 days, so you don't really need much. Whatever you do not overpack. I'm just gonna quickly go down the list here, but first you need a cap if you want to protect your face from the sun, a buffer or a bandana to cover your face since they're very helpful. 1, they protect your neck from burning, and 2, it prevents you from inhaling lots of road dust or pollution while on the road. Next is you need a pair of shirt and a long sleeve. Long sleeve because being exposed under the sun for quite some time on the loop can obviously cause sunburn, and if you happen to ride in the evening, the loop can get chilly on the bike. Bring a pair of swimwear and pair of pants for the same reason why I'm suggesting you bring a long sleeve. 1 to 2 pairs of socks and shoes, as well as undergarments. Sandals are optional. I just prefer shoes when doing long rides, even in tropical places. I'd also recommend bringing a pair of shirt and shorts to change into when you're about to sleep. You could just wear your riding outfit, but it'll most likely smell like your scooter's exhaust pipe, and I'm pretty sure you'd not want to smell like that going into bed, unless you're a psycho. But hey, who am I to judge? Oh, and if you're thinking of doing this loop during rainy season, make sure you have a raincoat. One that covers your entire body is what I would suggest if you have one. Last bits of items you need to pack are toiletries and other miscellaneous items. So I'm talking toothbrush, toothpaste, Q-tips, dental floss, body soap, deodorant, sunscreen, and mosquito repellent. For miscellaneous items, make sure you have the documents from the rental companies, which I'll get into later, your international license, bike helmet, which you'll be wearing anyways because there are police checkpoints on this loop, by the way, cash and or cards and other electronics such as phones, chargers, cameras, and such. Speaking of phones, before doing this loop, I suggest downloading the offline map of the loop on Google Maps or Maps.me if you don't have a local SIM card or data connection. This will help you navigate easier on the loop. If you want to take it a step further, I also suggest starring or highlighting things to do along the loop. All the recommended stops in this guide will be optional and dependent upon how much time you have and how many sites you want to check out. Next, I'll talk about which motorbike is right for you. The first time I went, I was just on the bike alone with a light backpack, so a 125cc was just fine for me. But the second time around, I had just me on the back of the motorbike along with our day packs and my camera gear, so the load was heavier on a 125cc. I'm not going to tell you how it went, but I'm going to link the video of our Mae Hong Son Loop adventures up above, and you can watch it after this video to see how we did, because we definitely had some issues on the loop. If you want a faster scooter, you could opt out for a 150 to 250cc, and if you're planning on riding on one bike with another person, I definitely don't recommend a 125cc. You need to get something that's 150cc or higher. The cost of renting a scooter varies, and it also depends on the size of the scooter or the motorbike you rent, as well as the duration you'll be renting it for. The higher the cc, the more it's going to cost you, but the longer you rent it, the more of a bargain it'll be for you, pending you have good bargaining skills. As mentioned, the cost is going to vary, but at the time of creating this video, the scooter I rented was a 125cc and it was for 7 days. I also negotiated the price and got it down to 1,300 Thai baht, which is 40 US dollars, 55 Canadian dollars, or 35 euros. This was also during high season, so if you end up doing this in low season, cost of the rental should be lower, technically. The rental company is going to ask you to leave your passport with them as a collateral, but don't worry, your passport will be safe and it's just standard procedure everywhere. I've visited Thailand and other countries in Southeast Asia multiple times, and I've always left my passport with the company when I would rent a scooter. If you don't feel comfortable, many rental companies could also do a deposit starting at, I believe, 5,000 Thai baht, which is roughly around 153 US dollars, 211 Canadian dollars, or 135 euros. Now, when should you do the Mae Hong Son Loop? Well, that's really all up to you, because each season have pros and cons, but I would say that this is an all year round activity. If you're thinking of doing the Mae Hong Son Loop from March to May, this is peak season and the weather is hot and dry. Though the mountains, since it'll be at a slightly higher altitude, it'll be much cooler but not too cold, if you know what I mean. This is the ideal time for you to ride if you prefer perfect warm and dry conditions. The only downside is, being that it's peak season, things tend to cost more, such as accommodations, and there will be more tourists because, yeah, I mean, it's high season. Now, if you want to do the opposite, you could go from May through October, which is the monsoon season. Expect thunderstorms, rain, and humidity. And yes, roads will be slippery and you need to be extra careful because of the road conditions. The upside is it'll cost you less and there will be fewer tourists, but to be honest, I've traveled to Asia quite a bit during monsoon season, and sure, it'll rain, but many times it'll rain so hard for a few hours, then it'll clear out right after. But being that this is up north, weather can be unpredictable up here, but I guess what I'm saying is rain isn't as bad as what you might imagine it to be. Another decent option is November through February. Road conditions are dry just like March through May, though you may experience it to be just a little bit colder around this time. This is also considered peak season, but I do recommend doing the loop during these months. Now let's get right into the itineraries. On the very first day, you'll be starting the loop in Chiang Mai and your final stop is Pai. The distance you'll be covering is just about 140 kilometers. This should take you between 3 to 4 hours to complete, but this also depends on how many stops you take and how long you want to take on your breaks. The first leg of the loop has about 700 curves and they're fairly hilly too. If you're looking to take a break in between, I suggest taking a break at this cafe called Hug Home Cafe in Mai Tang district. They've got plenty of snacks and hot bevy options, and they're great too. Depending on the time you arrive in Pai, you may do a little bit of exploring, or if you arrive late, you could also visit a few sites in Pai after. Pai is like this hippie, wellness, spiritual stop in Thailand. There's even this Pai hole phenomenon where many people were only supposed to stay here for a few days, either end up spending the rest of their trip here or just end up simply living here because it is fairly laid back. Another thing about this place is that there's plenty of Mary J products, if you know what I mean. I don't do any of this, so I can't recommend or speak of. It might be a challenge for you to leave this place, or at least that's what I've heard. Here are some sites in Pai, and as I mentioned, I suggest starring this or highlighting it on your Maps app. First is the Pai Canyon. It doesn't take much to get up here. It'll probably take you anywhere between 5 to 10 minutes. Then from there, you could explore it endlessly. The canyon itself covers more than 7.5 acres, offering panoramic views of the surrounding mountains, valleys, and the town of Pai. Just keep in mind that in some of the paths here, they're very narrow with winding ridges. There's also very little to no shade at all here, so this is the place where you could easily get a sunburn. Next, you want to see Wat Phra That Mae Yen, also known as the White Buddha. This is Pai's most iconic landmark. The statue was completed in 2008 and was built by local villages to highlight its deep connection with the Pai community. The statue stands at 12 meters tall and sits on a hilltop that has 353 steps, so unlike the Pai Canyon, it's going to take you anywhere between 15 to 20 minutes, which is just a little bit longer to get to the top depending on your fitness level. Nonetheless, this is a must visit because doing those steps are so worth it. The statue represents peace, hope, and serenity. Then there's the famous Pai walking street, which takes place in the evening. There's a lot of great food here, and if you're looking for souvenirs from Pai, this is probably the place to get just that. Again, this only takes place in the evening, so do this right when you get to Pai if you're not staying an extra day. Another site you might want to check out is the Big Monk statue, a less visited spot for tourists but well worth it. If you want peace and quiet and a site to yourself, this is it. The statue stands at 17 meters or 56 feet tall. It depicts a monk in a meditative pose representing peace, tranquility, and the spiritual legacy of Buddhism. Many locals come here to pray, meditate, and simply find a moment of peace. Now, if you have more time, other noteworthy spots to visit are the Pai Hot Springs, Pai Memorial Bridge, Pai River, adventure out in the waterfalls such as the Mo Pang Waterfall and Pambo Waterfall, the Bamboo Bridge, the Pai Land Split, take up yoga classes or a cooking class, visit a coffee plantation, or go trekking and exploring the hill tribes. I think one thing what I would have done differently in both times I've done this loop is to stay in Pai for 2 nights and 3 days, since there are plenty of things to do here or around it. I suggest you do 2 if you have time. As for day 2, you'll be heading to Mae Hong Son from Pai. To Mae Hong Son, it's about 107 kilometers, which will take you anywhere between 3 to 4 hours. The roads remain hilly and have steady inclines. Unlike Pai, you'll notice that Mae Hong Son is a much smaller and quieter town with less attractions that are worth visiting. You will start to see the authentic side of this part of Thailand up here, which makes it very unique. First up on the list is Wat Phra Doi Khong Mu, an iconic temple that offers one of the best panoramic views of Mae Hong Son town. The 2 white pagodas are on top of a hill, easily accessible by your motorbike or by foot. There is a Burmese influence in these temples, as Mae Hong Son has a close historical and cultural ties with Myanmar. In fact, the larger Chedi was built in 1860 by Karen immigrants, while the smaller one was constructed later in 1874. The place is also known as the Temple of Dawn, as it is the best sunrise spot in town. Another notable spot is the Nam Lod Cave, which I didn't get a chance to see but heard nothing but great things about it. Other noteworthy visits are Pang Ung, which is a small lake that offers tranquility. Other must-visit pagodas are Wat Chong Khan and Wat Chong Klang. If you come here at night, there's also a night market where food vendors and products are available for purchase, but this market is very different from Pai Walking Street, as there are more locals here with very few tourists, making it a cool, authentic experience. I suggest grabbing food at one of the stalls here and sitting by Long Chom Pham Lake to enjoy the scenery. There are other activities here as well, depending on what the vendors have available at the time of your visit. The following day, you'll be heading to Mae Sariang, another sleepy town, but for some reason, there seems to be more tourists here than usual. From Mae Hong Son to Mae Sariang, you're looking to do about 160 kilometers. This should take you anywhere between 4 to 5 hours. The roads are a bit flatter on this day, even though it's fairly lengthy. You still have lots of winding roads as well. There are also some noteworthy viewpoints that you need to stop for, but unfortunately, I do not remember the names. Fortunately, you won't miss these stops, as they are very hard to miss. A must-visit temple here is Wat Phra That Chom Mon, a temple that dates back to the era of Kin Sen Muang, who was the 7th king of Chiang Mai. You could ride your scooter up here, and once you get to the top, you'll get panoramic views, and it's just simply beautiful up here. Other noteworthy visits: Mae Sariang Museum. On the last leg of the loop, you're heading back to Chiang Mai. This is technically the longest ride out of all the days, as this is nearly 200 kilometers, but the majority of this route is flat, which makes it fast, if that even makes sense, since you're not going up any hills or going through as much winding roads. This will take you anywhere between 5 to 6 hours. Then once you get to Chiang Mai, I mean, you either have been staying here before this loop, or if not, there are plenty of things to do in Chiang Mai. I feel like I need to do a separate video for just that, but to quickly run down the things to do in Chiang Mai, here they are. There are plenty of temples here, such as Wat Phra Doi Suthep, Wat Chedi Luang, Wat Phra Singh, Wat Chang Man, just to name a few. You could also visit the old city, Doi Inthanon National Park, elephant sanctuaries, taking a Thai cooking class, walking street, night bazaar, get a spa and massage, zip lining, exploring the art and craft scene as it's big here, and so much more. Next, I'm gonna get into safety and some bonus tips to end this guide. By the way, if you've watched this far into the video, I'd appreciate it if you give this video a like and consider subscribing to my channel for more travel guides like these. The first safety is going to sound like common sense, but I'm still gonna mention it because it's important, and that is to ride slow. This loop has a lot of curves, and if you come in too hot into one, well, yeah, you get the idea. This loop is not a race or to get adrenaline spikes through speed. It's meant for you to take your time on the road and enjoy the scenic, lush greenery landscape of the loop. Next is to have your international license, as well as the documents stating that you've rented this motorbike. Sure, there are many places in Thailand where you've rented a scooter and probably got away with not having your international license or documents, but as of late, there have been many police checkpoints that may ask to check for your international license, so make sure you get that before considering this loop. Next item on the list is fuel, and I'm only bringing this up because of my recent experience. There are plenty of gas stations where you could fill up, but don't wait till the last minute to fill your gas like I did. In fact, fill up your gas once it gets below halfway if possible. There are a lot of hills, twists, and turns, so at certain parts of the loop, fuel consumption will be higher than normal. Don't underestimate it like I did. If you're feeling exhausted, take as many breaks as you need. The worst is riding when you're tired going on a turn. Like I said, it's not a race. You need to be focused when doing this loop. Other additional tips include knowing how to ride. If this is your first time riding a scooter, I would not recommend it. I recommend at least getting some scooter time in Chiang Mai or other parts of Thailand at least before doing this loop. As mentioned earlier, there's no right or wrong way when doing this loop. You may go clockwise or counterclockwise. For me personally, counterclockwise is the best because the first two sections or days of the loop is where the winding, hilly curves are. It's great because you're hyped for the road trip and want to tackle on the adventure. If you go the other way, I feel that the hardest part of the loop with twists and turns will be left last when you've been on the road for quite some time. At least for me on the last day, I just didn't want to deal with as many curves because I just wanted to get back to Chiang Mai and finish the loop. Next is, if you have time, stay in Pai for 2 days. It's worth extending a day here just because of the amount of things to do in town and nearby. If you have the option to do a 5-day trip, consider adding that extra day for Pai. The Mae Hong Son Loop is probably one of the most adventurous things you could do in Thailand. And if you are planning a trip to the country, I hope I've somewhat got you to consider doing this loop. If you want to experience the greenery and scenic landscape the North offers, then this is without a doubt should be on your bucket list of the things to do in Thailand. Well, I hope you got some value out of this video, and as always, I'd appreciate it if you take a second to like this video and comment down below if you have any questions, as I'd be more than happy to answer them. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.